Hi, Natalie.
Hey Scotty, how are you?
I am good. I am so happy that it is Disability Pride Month. Happy Disability Pride Month.
Yes, we love that. We have a special guest today. This is Liv Leigh, and we are talking about disability, accessibility, and asking for permission and when not to ask for permission.
All right, let's go to our conversation with Liv. Hi, Liv. It's so good to see you. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, you
Hey,
guys. So good to be
How are
here.
you, girls? How's everybody? It's pouring rain here, but sweltering hot everywhere else in the country right now because it's July. How are
It
you
is
guys
roasty
feeling?
toasty.
oh yeah, it's hot. My fan's
Yeah.
on too.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's been quite a hot summer, but the heat reminds us every day that it is July, and July is also Disability Pride Month. Happy Disability Pride Month.
Yay. I have to be honest, I did not realize that was a thing until you told me.
I did not realize it was a thing until about 4 years ago when we produced a video series with a disability advocate named Tiffany Yu, who is on our podcast channel. So you can find her right here. She was our podcast last week. And she told me we just happened to be doing our project with her in July. And she was like, yay, it's Disability Pride Month. So the timing's perfect. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. So now I do. I'm not sure how it started or how it became a thing, but I'm grateful because it points us to people who are doing amazing things and really puts them on a stage for that month if we're really ignoring them and not paying attention to them the rest of the year, which would be bad on us. It's an amazing thing. So happy Disability Pride Month.
Yay. To you too. I feel like we need like a Disability Pride Month tree or something to celebrate.
I think so. I think so. But we do have the podcast. Let's step back a little bit before we dive into the topic of disabilities and overcoming our challenges. Tell us about what you do, Liv.
I do many things. By day, I'm a BioCAD engineer. I work in medical 3D printing and imaging, doing segmentation on CAT scan and MRI data, which sort of helps with surgery, virtual surgery on the before the doctor side.
Uh-huh.
And then sort of by night, I do content creation for automotive, specifically regarding electric vehicles. So, and that sort of all started when I started my electric vehicle journey. And I'm that nerdy friend who would like tell all my friends about what I'm into. So it just happened that I'm telling all my friends, and they happen to be everyone on the internet. So that's what I do.
Uh-huh. And so tell us about your journey with EV content because you rebranded and you've added content. So talk about that.
My journey with EV content, I was sort of making content anyways because I am that friend. You know, I made makeup content, and my husband and I did travel content. It's like, oh, look at this cool makeup. I want to show everyone. Or look at this cool place. I want to show everyone. So in 2019, we went to the LA Auto Show, saw the Mustang Mach-E there, and immediately put down a reservation, which I was like, we're not getting that car. That's too expensive. But we can make videos about it and have fun with it. Then little did I know, making videos about that would actually take off, unlike all my makeup and travel content. But that sort of snowballed into really organically just making the content as we got to know our electric vehicle, my husband and I. And then that also organically evolved as I accosted you at the New York Auto Show, I think maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to meet you. And then that evolved into me writing and you allowing me this platform of being able to share more about my enthusiasm about electric vehicles and about being someone with disabilities who uses electric vehicles or who uses cars in general. So it's been this really natural evolution, very much as like I've gotten to know electric vehicles and what it is like interacting with different cars and sharing with people because I didn't naturally know what it was like. And I'd never been in a Mercedes before until I had the opportunity to do a review on one. And having that opportunity suddenly and see how different automakers do different things for people and how some of them are not good for people with certain things, certain needs, and I can't speak for everyone, and how some automakers do things that are actually great. So this has given me that opportunity in this really organic way that has been showing myself and then getting to show the world. And kind of, and by that same token, asking the stupid questions, because we know there are no stupid questions, right? But it can be
Right.
scary to ask those, especially when you go into a dealership and they're like trying to encourage you to buy something. But if we're testing out a vehicle, no pressure. If I don't like it, I'm turning it in after a week. If there's something, bad about it, my job is to call it out. So it's really weird how that's organically happened, but I appreciate that it's been this really natural progression to the point of talking to you about it right now.
Well, they need consumers who are considering buying a car need an objective opinion. They need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly and decide for themselves what can I live with and what can I not live with, right? That's something they're never going to find. They're not going to find that story from the car maker, and they're certainly not going to find that story at a car dealer. And they may not be, it's what we do is very specialized and it's a job. So but people have their other jobs. They don't like understanding cars doesn't need to be a second job for them just to buy one, right? I don't need to understand how shoes are made to wear them. So, but I wear them every day. So I appreciate what you bring to this, Liv. How did you tell us about how your EV journey started? Because that's um, not super typical. Usually, most women come into automotive through they love working on a car and getting their hands a little dirty, changing the oil and putting new tires on or whatever. So how did you get to this journey with EVs?
Oh, interesting. Well, firstly, I grew up in South Africa. I left when I was 18, through, in part due to my disability, which perhaps we'll get into later. But I was always, I thought it would be interesting to learn how to fix up cars. I was kind of a tinkering kid, but I literally inquired about it and I was told that girls don't do that. That's not something that girls do. And now, like, even if I had done it, I wouldn't say that I would necessarily have been a car person. I'm not necessarily a car person, but I like the design of cars. I went into industrial design. That was my degree in college. And I love the products that help us. And I love the things that like fit us. I love the stuff that's behind you guys that you care to show off, the things that you've lovingly picked, the cherry purse and, like all these, I love things, the things that we surround ourselves with and that make our lives easier. And that's why I went into industrial design was because it's around watching how people use things and how we interact with something and then solving problems and creating solutions. And so, like, that's how I sort of um, got into the automotive stuff. That's not necessarily like a love of cars, though I do love cars for what they do. But it's a love of solving problems and the problem of moving ourselves around and feeling freedom and feeling like there's something about being able to move ourselves. Even the ability to walk, as someone who has lost the ability to walk and does and will periodically, that ability to move ourselves is so powerful, and that cars give us that ability is really powerful too. And I love that there are different vehicles to express ourselves in the same way that a lipstick makes us feel good or that dress that feels amazing. When you put that car on, that it makes you feel powerful and then it fits you in that same way. So, um, that's how I sort of see it in a way.
And so, it's interesting because you talk about the power of mobility or having a car and how it helps you as a person with a disability. And I would say for someone without a physical disability, and actually Tiffany and I were talking yesterday, like not all disabilities are visible. And there are a lot of people who do have disabilities that are maybe unrecognized or unspoken or that they hide. And there are far many more of us out there with disabilities than statistics would even show us. But when you talk about physical disabilities, those who don't have a physical disability tend to think of a car as something that maybe is not something that you should rely on or have or drive because you're not, that able-bodied 5'11" German man that the car was designed for. And um, no shade on the Germans or anything, but you know what I mean. And so tell us, what's your perspective? What do you say? What do you think about that?
All products are made for humans and are designed to exist for us, to make our lives easier. And for one, as women, we know that we affect what, 85% of all the car buying purchases. So we actually have more right to be demanding in this industry than anyone else, really. But also, this is what products exist for. The amazing thing about humanity, the thing that sets us apart from animals is that we can create, although beavers are pretty awesome, but like that's one of the really special things about humans is what we can create. And why wouldn't we demand from our creations? Why wouldn't we be able to use them? And by that same token, like I sometimes find it's easy to feel apologetic if you don't get something, or if it's confusing the way that something works, whether it's in the software or whether it's like, how do I adjust the seat or whatever. But if you get into a vehicle and it's difficult or challenging, that's probably not your fault, because somewhere there's an industrial designer who should have been watching you, or a whole design team, right? They should have been watching you and they should have been interacting with you because they ultimately want your money. They want to sell you something, right? They don't want to make you think, well, I should get this or I shouldn't get that. They want to make something that you want that makes your life better, that's just amazing and that you can't resist, right? So if they didn't watch you and didn't watch the way that you interact with something and didn't see that it's challenging, that's on them. That's not on you. So if anyone says that you don't belong somewhere or whatever, then they're not realizing the whole point. The whole point is that all of this is for us. It's for all of us, you know?
So let's talk about overcoming those obstacles, because even though, yes, it's for all of us, it's not one size fits all. I mean, it really is. Cars are pretty much one size fits all. And we have to accommodate if we're shorter or we're taller, or our shoulders don't hit where the bolsters are in the seats, or, we have to, Natalie knows, have to come up with a process so that we can equally reach the pedals and not sit too close to the steering wheel so that we're safe while we're driving. It's shockingly not, like, a lot of cars are not ideal for every driver. So what's your process in assessing a car and setting yourself up for success in it?
Well, firstly, I would hope that automakers, if they're listening, try to design for as many people as you can as possible. That's great. You can't always suit everyone, but you can do your best, right? And you can tell when a car or a product has done their best to be accommodating or accessible to people. And then at that point, you get to do your best, right? So making adaptations is the way that I get by in everything, and with everything in life, whether it's working out, what adaptations can I do to make this fit me, or whether it's a vehicle. And for me, I am a right leg amputee, so I'm missing my right leg. It was blown off in a bombing. And so I drive with my left leg crossed over. And that's a simple adaptation to make, but it is not always something that is suitable depending on the vehicle. So when I first get a vehicle to check out, I have to test that out. I have to test it out, but just like we all do, right? You get in a car and you're like, how does this feel? Where does this fit? Is it too tight? What can I adjust? Because sometimes, you can adjust the bolstering, or, how can I tilt the seat? So by that, in the same way that we all do, I do that, except I just have a couple extra steps of like crossing my left leg over and seeing Is my knee pressing too hard in the center console? Is there even a center console? Because some EVs don't have one, and that's awesome. Like how do I adjust the seat? Can my hand reach? Because my fingers were injured, so I have some dexterity challenges. How can I get in the door? Things like that. And all of that is also part of assessing a vehicle for everyone else. Because even though I have very specific challenges, many of us have challenges too. And whilst mine may be exactly this way, this is how my hand works, there may be other people reading or watching who have dexterity challenges who will benefit from the attention that I give to seeing how easy or difficult it is to open a door. And sometimes when I'm making adaptations, I might think, I could never live with this. These are not adaptations that I'm willing to make every single day. And then sometimes I might think, this is okay. This is minor. This is acceptable. Or this is totally worth it because this is so awesome or that is so awesome. So it's really assessing the adaptations. And I may have to make adaptations because I have a disability or disabilities, but we may have to make adaptations because we're shorter than the men the cars were designed for, or whatever it is, right? So all of us have to make adaptations in some way or another, and if we don't, and we're right in the middle there, and that perfect, very lucky. But this is why diversity is so important, and designing for as many people as possible is so important.
So, how did you get to this comfort and confidence level? You have a lot of confidence, and you clearly have found your comfort zone when it comes to cars. But I'm going to say the average woman very often is not as comfortable as you are in, getting into new cars and checking them out and finding their strengths and weaknesses as they fit you. Where does that confidence come from, Liv?
I have to be completely honest. There is the confidence of what you see, and then there's what's inside. So every time we see everyone, we have to remember that what we see is maybe not what's inside. So I will be completely honest that like 90%, 85% of my life, I am terrified a lot. I have a lot of anxiety. I'm honestly terrified. When I get into a new vehicle, it's very scary. It's like, how is this? Am I gonna feel okay? What's comfortable? I'm not scared. I am very scared a lot. But you have to decide whether it's worth doing. And being scared, not you don't have to be scared, right? It's not super pleasant. But deciding to face fear is something that we can do, and it's allowed, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable, and it's okay to feel messy. In the same way that if you do a marathon, you don't end up done with a marathon looking perfect with your hair done and your makeup done, right? You look like a wreck, but you still did it and you feel good, right? And then when you go and get cleaned up and you're telling your friends, you're like, I did it, it was amazing, and you have your makeup on and you look great. So like consider this me after the marathon, though maybe not as hard. But inside, I'm like nervous all the time, and it's always scary. Like you have to think about a lot of things, right? What do I need to do? Can I cross this over? How's this going to feel when I'm fatigued? Like, will this be okay? Whatever it is. Or like with automotive stuff, part of why I love the ability to have a vehicle for a week at home is because then I can like take it at my own pace and my own time. Sometimes when they do the press events, I'm scared because I'm like, are they going to push me to do it too quickly? I'm not going to be ready, And admitting that, I think maybe perhaps some people could relate, because when you go to a dealership and there's that fear of like, are they going to push me? I need some time alone to be a mess, right? So that's the look behind this. You see the mess, right? And then face back on. I don't know if there is, what is that? Is this like bravery is being terrified and still doing it or something like that? Like the confidence is not just like there. It's a mess. And just if you want to, if it's worth it to you, you slog through it. You don't have to, but do. And just remember that it's okay to be afraid. That you don't have to run away.
I will say there have been challenges in my life that I think when I'm faced with something that's making me nervous or making me a little scared, and I think back and I go, well, I did that. I guess I can do this. Do you have that feeling based on the bomb blast that caused you to lose your right leg and now live a very different life?
Goodness. So the bomb blast, I'm from South Africa and I was working at a pizzeria when I was 16 and there was a terrorist bombing and I was very close to the bomb and that's how I lost my leg. Um, it's a very long time ago. It was 26 years ago now. So uh, it's a weird dichotomy because it's still something that defines my life every single day and affects me. Um, but in regards to I overcome that, it's not fresh in that way. Like I hate to say it, but I keep having to overcome things
Mhm.
to keep that bravado up, like sometimes just going for a drive and like testing out my vehicle and just like feeling good behind the wheel can like be a good refresher. Or doing something that scares me a little bit. Even I've been to therapy. Therapy's pretty great. And my one therapist, I was talking about like dealing with anxiety, and we talked about how things like roller coasters can be anxiety that you can turn into reward. So there's a little something about that, about the reward of accomplishing things, of doing something when you know that you get that anxiety, but it's a reward at the end, even if it's a roller coaster. Um, you can do that. So I survived a bombing, but every day I have to keep surviving. And often I need that refresher of bravado, it helps. Because if I just sat at home and didn't do anything and like didn't, face anything, then I'd probably need to like build up the courage again, So you kind of got to keep yourself buoyed. Yeah.
I can't even imagine you sitting home not doing anything.
Well, I think a lot of us who were around in the pandemic might have done that for a bit and,
Well,
needed a
yeah.
little, yeah.
Or once
Uh,
we were allowed to go out and interact again, we all did, right?
this is
Yeah.
But I
true.
mean, you're just
Yeah.
so bubbly and moving all the time and so busy, busy, busy. I can't imagine you sitting home and not doing anything.
Well, I do have to be honest, regrettably, that because of my disability, the ability to sit at home and be non-ambulatory is something that I've worked into my lifestyle. So my day job is 9 hours a day, in front of a computer. I work on CAT scan data and I can do it just sitting at a computer, which I don't love. I do enjoy the job and I do enjoy helping people, but the specifically the ability to sit so if anything happens to my leg, which realistically I've gone through periods of multiple years when I haven't been able to walk with ease. So if anything happens, my livelihood is still okay. So
Uh,
I emotionally and mentally have to understand that sometimes I may be forced into that situation. And so I have different ways of coping with that. For example, if I'm in a wheelchair, I am quite I'm quite an aggressive wheelchair user and like I'm getting myself around. Don't touch the chair. I'm opening the door, and get out of my way. Not really, but just like I like to feel the freedom of mobility because feeling incapacitated and limited does something to you emotionally. It does something to your psyche. It may not be the same for everyone. Like people have different things and it's okay to react differently. But for me, I know that in those situations, I need to be very positive. I need to know that my house is wheelchair accessible and that I can get to my car in my wheelchair and take myself somewhere and feel independent and not rely on someone because it's important for me in those times to feel that way. So, whilst I may be active in those moments, I have to understand that sometimes my life requires extra adaptation, right? Um, so I guess that's just reality, isn't it? Reality
so
sucks sometimes, but
let me ask you this.
we have to live there.
So when you're out, like say you're in your wheelchair and you're going someplace or you're just going through your day and somebody approaches you and wants to help and they mean well, what advice do you have? How do they say this in a way that's not insulting to you?
I would not want to speak for long-term wheelchair users
I'm
because
talking about you.
for me, I'm not in one enough to combat that a huge amount, but I have to be honest. I've had people try to help, and I tend to just say, no, thank you. It's really tough. I would say offer, don't do. Because I think the most common thing that I have encountered when I'm in a wheelchair is someone trying to hold the door for me. And typically the most difficult thing is when someone is standing in the doorway, which is what happens when they're trying to hold the door for you. And I don't know about you, but I'm superstitious about going under someone's arm. My mom raised me with that superstition. So sometimes people will hold the door open with their arm, and I'm like, I don't want to go under. Superstition. But so instead of holding the door open necessarily, and I know this is like counter to the way that some people are raised holding the door open. Oh, I guess if you do it in the same way that you do for everyone, you're opening the door and you step away. But if you get in the way of a person in a wheelchair or touch their chair or in any way like hamper their mobility, I think that can be very challenging. And then offer help. Help is a wonderful thing to offer, and a person can say no, thank you, but don't do. Just offer. And if someone doesn't take it the way that you want it to, don't take it personally. 'Cause it's not about you, it's about them. And I've personally had that in different situations in my life of people in different situations offering to help them and them responding poorly. But what I wanted to do was genuine, and then you got to leave it at that, right? So don't just, okay, absolutely, no worries. Yeah.
It's hard because people who don't live with someone who's different or don't see people who are different all the time regularly often don't know what to do. And so I love that. Don't offer, but don't do. And is it okay to ask?
Oh, yeah. I think so. For me, as an amputee, and my other leg is very damaged. If you've seen any of my videos or read any of my articles, I have photos and stuff so you can see. Um, and it's visible, but there was a long period of my life that I didn't make it visible, and I wore pants. So I have that luxury of being able to hide it if I want. But now I'm at a point in my life where it's just easier for me to show it. And it's also a luxury to show it because people with invisible disabilities have to defend themselves all the time. And so I realize in this weird way that that's a privilege to be able to have people see it and not have to defend yourself. And so I encourage everyone, if someone says they have something going on, trust them. Trust them. Listen to them. If you see someone in a line for people with a handicap and you don't visibly see anything, don't even send them judgy looks, like that person is probably someone with an invisible disability who's deals with that constantly. And I cannot imagine the strain of that. Or I can from when I willingly hid my disability, for
Hmm.
a long time. But showing my leg, I will say, and my legs, that children are the most fun because they are completely honest and they just ask what is in their heads and they say whatever they think. And it's interesting the different attitudes that children have because even though we know that having, a prosthetic leg and damage from a bombing and all that is a really difficult challenge that I'm sure you can imagine I deal with all the time. But children, when they see me out on the biking trail on my recumbent trike, are like, robot leg? What? So cool. I wish I had one. I've had that a lot. But what an interesting opportunity to engage with young minds and show them that it's not something scary. And my niece and nephews grew up trying out my prosthetic and using it as a toy and stuff like that. It's uncomfortable to potentially address as a grown-up, but kids are curious and they put it on their heads and they look at it like, how does it work? My youngest nephew is like, can I make a better one? And like you want that curiosity because it's genuine and they come from a place of wanting to learn. And so I would love for us adults to potentially be more curious or allow that curiosity. It has backfired for me before because I have had people be too curious for the sake of curiousness in a way that I might not necessarily want to engage with, but I do anyways. But there's something about kids that like they're curious to understand. And it's just really innocent And it's lovely. It's lovely. So, and like I'll see kids and they're like, ah, and then the parent will be like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, it's cool. What do you want to say? I'm like, how does it attach? Or, whatever.
And so I'm just going to say thank you for showing your disability, showing your leg, because there are so many people who hide their disability or hide their feel shame for their shortcomings or for their differences. I shouldn't say shortcomings, and want to hide it. And when they see someone brave who is willing to not only let the world see, but also answer the questions, you give them more confidence. You give them more. You empower them to be who they are, and you let the car designers see what it's like to get into the back of an F-150 pickup truck if you have a prosthetic leg. My favorite video of you of all time, by the way.
I appreciate that. And I remember that moment. And I hadn't tried getting into the back of a truck before. So that was very impromptu. But I appreciated the way that they designed it because that was very raw, right? Like that. I
Was.
don't know if you know, but that reel, I think it was first time try. I'm like, let's see how this works. Oh, it worked. Because that's when you know that something is designed well. That the first time you use it, you're like, how does this work? Does it? Oh, that makes sense. Logically, where would I go next? So like that something is designed well when you do it for the first time and it makes sense. And something might take a couple times. But I remember that, and that was really awesome. And I do have to say, by the way, I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your positivity. But I do want to say to people watching with disabilities or other challenges, I don't think it's really necessarily bravery. You don't have to be brave necessarily to show who you are and to just be who you are. For me, in a way, it actually lets me be less defensive because when I was hiding my disability, I felt like people didn't know why I had a harder time or why I had to hold on to the stair railing and people would push by me. Or people didn't know why when I was in Zumba, I don't spin because I've realized that I always hurt my leg when I do that. Or, why I don't jump or whatever. And I would internalize the judgment of people. And for me, in a lot of ways, it allows me to have an easier time with not internalizing judgment. And I think that we all do that, right? We do that. It's so challenging, especially with social media and especially in honesty, all of us putting our faces on videos and photos or whatever, that you internalize this potential judgment, right? And it's really important not to, because not everyone's going to like you and that's okay. And it's not normal for humans to have this many eyes on them. And so we all in this generation have to work a little extra hard to just like nope, nope, you don't change me, so showing my disabilities lets me have an easier time of that because I'm like, that's why I need to hold the handrail, you know what I mean? So it's actually a little bit of a luxury almost, and it just lets me not think about it.
I think
I
your
don't know if
advice
that
is
helps to
so
clarify.
true for women in general because women have been societally told to, always smile and always look your best and hide your feelings and don't talk about these things and only talk about these things, right? And men are not told that. Men are told like, go out and be, who you are and whatever and talk about money and talk about this and talk about that and we're told not to. So I feel like and I think that's less now. I mean, I certainly didn't raise my daughters to be like that, raise them to be, focus on the things that are important to you and what matters to you. But it's hard because with social media, they do have this ridiculous standard that everyone feels like they need to live up to. And of course, it's not real. And I think we all know that, but it still is hard. You still want every photo of you to look perfect and not be making a weird face and or have the makeup on, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's good advice for everyone, especially women. So let's talk about like a couple of questions I wanted to get to. First, let's talk about continuing this thought. What other advice do you have for people with disabilities who maybe are starting to realize that they don't need to hide it, but are exploring the world now, especially cars? What does that look like? What advice do you have for people who are finding their own journey?
Well, I think that's a great term, isn't it? Finding their own journey. Like, that's it. Find your own journey. Pay attention to when you're shooting on yourself, right? When you find yourself saying, I should something, that's probably someone else's perception that you're putting on yourself or another expectation. So pay
Mhm.
attention to those things. Like, think about, do I really feel that way? Do I really need that? Do I really want that? And in regards to automotive and transportation in general, there are multiple awesome forms of transportation, and I'm a big fan of them, you know? So, also look at that. Walking is incredible, and the ability to walk yourself somewhere is amazing, and that might be better suited to someone than automotive. Or taking the bus or public transport, if you have access to that, is both incredible for the environment, moving multiple people instead of individual people on one machine. Um, all sorts of things are great. And then ultimately, if you don't need a vehicle that often, ride share, things like that. So look at the different ways that you can move yourself around, because if it's like people learning how they can gain that freedom or move themselves around in the world, you don't have to limit yourself. But if you do want or need a vehicle, there are tons of awesome vehicles. And I just encourage people to gosh, what did you say? What was it, the beautiful term you said?
Finding your journey?
Yeah, yeah, do that in the same realm. So when if it's automotive, like, is an electric vehicle good for you? Do you want a little gas vehicle? Do you need a little truck that might hold your mobility device? Does it have a cool bar to help you get in and out, like the F-150 that I tested out? Like, look at all those things. Unfortunately, I have to say, like, you might have to be brave, right? Because we have to advocate for ourselves, and that can be hard, and we have to really stand up for ourselves. And when dealing with pressure and when you're making big purchases, there's always pressure, right? So
Mhm.
you have to really stand up for yourself. So whatever that is, whether it's like pretending you're a superhero or thinking that you're your best friend, or just working on your own bravery, whatever it is to like help yourself stand up for yourself more, like, take that handy, and don't take the judgment of the salesperson. So just find what works for you. Take as much time as you need. Test something out. Ask them to borrow it for a day to go test out your mobility device or whatever. Like, and ask for a test drive without the salesperson there, or whatever it is that you need to be comfortable. So you can go like sit in a park somewhere and be like, how does this feel? Am I going to be able to do this when I'm dealing with this or whatever? So like, um, find your journey, find out what works for you, and then don't be afraid to ask for what you want or
And
what you
I'm
need.
going to add to that, and I don't know if I know that you're in a lot of these groups with EVs and like the fan groups for the cars, the specific cars. I'm in a lot of them too. I think that's a good place too for anyone who's shopping for a car. If you're looking for a Mustang Mach-E, you're just thinking about it, go join the Facebook group and hear what the other owners have to say. You can ask them questions. And I know that there are also disability groups, and you can ask in in those groups as well what people like about their cars, and what features they most value, and how they accommodate certain things, like, how do you get your wheelchair in to the car, and how do you get it out, or whatever. And I have to imagine, especially if it's a new situation for someone, you probably have a ton of questions, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's actually why. Wow, such a great point. So my husband and I founded the Ford EV Clubs and the Mustang Mach-E Club of America, which are official Ford clubs. And we have all these different chapters, right? For different locations around the country, but we do not have a disability chapter. Like you just saying that just inspired me. Like we have to make that, and we have to make sure that we have all the information required for anyone who's interested in a Ford EV. And I encourage anyone, if you're an enthusiast or interested in a Ford electric vehicle, come to us at fordevclubs.org. And I'm going to make that disability chapter because you're right, that's incredibly important. And I have a wheelchair that I test out in every vehicle that we have. And it's not always a given that you can get one into the trunk of a vehicle, and you don't always want to have to put the seats down. That's pretty annoying. So
Right.
they're different. Yeah, it's you have to look into that in all cases. But yeah, you're right. These forums are great. There's tons of great EV YouTube content creators, and there's tons of great resources on a Girl's Guide to Cars website. Um, so yeah, look at those resources, and perhaps you'll list them down below for everyone. And I'm sure
Yeah.
we could always
And
use
you
more
can look at
resources.
any of our reviews that Liv has written, and there is the disability perspective of how she makes this car work for herself, and the questions that she had and the considerations that she makes when she evaluates a car, because she evaluates it very differently than the rest of us do. Some of us think about how our dogs are going to get in and where they're going to sit, and some of us think about where we're going to put our kids' car seats. And Liv thinks about how she's if it will work for her. And actually, we just published a story not too long ago about you in the Toyota Tacoma. And if you haven't seen that story, you have to go see Liv's photos. It's so funny, and which is a great truck for a lot of people, but not for everyone, right, Liv?
Truly, yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I appreciate this forum so much, and the opportunity to share about this stuff, and the ability to be able to say if something doesn't work for me. So yeah, I really appreciated that opportunity. I'm glad you found humor in that because I was a little like, oh, this is really not for me. But
It was so funny, and it was, there's nothing in my view. Every car has its audience. Not every audience is for every car. Not every driver and passenger are for every car, right? So when they build a car, they think about who ideally this is for. And your story showed me very clearly that that Toyota Tacoma is for that person who's sitting in the front seat and maybe occasionally has someone in the passenger seat, and probably uses the rear seat to hold groceries or maybe where their dog sits. But it's not ideal for someone with mobility issues. It's not ideal with someone, you know, who needs to put their knees somewhere. Like it doesn't fit. That those were those oversized sports seats in the truck that you drove. So you can get smaller seats, but it still doesn't have a lot of leg room. And that your photo showed me very clearly, if I was the mom with the newborn in the rear facing car seat and my husband was looking at a Tacoma, I would say, well, you can't put the kid's car seat in there because look at her. The car seat's not going to fit. She can't fit in there. The car seat's not going to fit. So in my mind, you just pointed something out for so many other people who have a mobility issue, and then those who are considering other things that you pointed out won't work. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that. And I think it kind of illustrates a point that it can, having a disability or anything that makes us different can create sometimes a sense of otherness, I think, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, we don't need to feel that because there are names for all the feelings that we have because everyone feels them, right? Like, unfortunately, we're not that unique in a lot of ways, but fortunately, that means that there's so many other people that can relate to us. We don't have to feel different because we don't see ourselves, right? Just know that there are other people out there who experience something similar or will experience something similar, and we don't have to feel other or alone. And with dealing with disability, if we live long enough, we'll all deal with that, right? Because age
Yeah.
brings disability or a reduction of ability, right? Of movement. And oftentimes it can happen to anyone. Or you could break your leg and experience it temporarily and then experience, what that's like. So there doesn't have to be a sense of otherness with everything that we experience, right? And it can be good. I find it comforting to remind myself when I'm sharing something that there's like someone else who might experience this too or might benefit from it. Even if it feels like something weird that just affects me, it's like probably someone else experienced it too. But that's also one of the luxuries of sharing things publicly is that then you can hear back, I might not have thought that that situation with the Tacoma was super relatable, but it's really comforting to hear that it is. And then it's like, cool. Okay, I'll share more, like sometimes sharing can be really reaffirming when you hear a yeah, me too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It
totally. I
does.
feel you on that.
It
The leg
does.
room on
It does.
the Tacoma was bad, so I feel you on that. Like I didn't realize it, so I got in, and I'm like, wait a minute, everyone talks so much about this truck, and hearing from your experience, I'm like, oh my god, she's like a breath of fresh air here. You're like saying all the things that even like I experience when I get in a car. Of like, I can't reach the pedals; it doesn't go any further. What am I gonna do? I can't even see. Like so it's an awful experience for women when we're in the car. So I really love your perspective because like it is very valid and like there's friends with different accessibility opportunities and they're like, oh, this is cool, like I didn't know there was a car website that has someone like me on there, and it was really awesome to hear that that we are making this difference by you showing up.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. And like, I appreciate you saying me too, right? Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, that feels really great. And I think that's wonderful. And I think Girls Guide to Cars is just creating a really inclusive, awesome platform. And I feel just really heartwarmed that there's us three here in this, wider group of incredible journalists and creators who represent as many people as possible, right? Because it's like really hard to represent that. But Natalie, you get to represent your family and what it's like for your family environment in different vehicles. And Scotty, you have the most incredible experience in automotive and so much insight. And we have so many different people, and it's hard to represent everyone. But I appreciate that we're all doing our best to like get a good overlap so that everyone's seen.
The more voices at the table,
Yeah.
the more of us at the table, the more that we help others who don't see themselves in this world. And we allow them to see, we allow them, you allow them, Live, to see what it's like to adapt yourself to a car, to work it out, to figure it out, to make that dream car work for you. If you can do it, I can do it, is what you're telling people. You're telling, if I can do it, you can do it. And people need to see that, especially women need to see that. They really need to see other women doing this. And so, Natalie teaching people how to set a car for a driver who's 5'1" and is not crammed up against the steering wheel,
Right.
because that's what so many women think, like that's how they have to sit, and it can be dangerous. So being able to share these stories is so important, and more and more people are doing it now. There are more and more voices out there now, which is amazing. And I'm just thrilled to have you as a part of it, both of you. So, Liv, what are you driving these days?
So I have an Equinox EV and a Mustang Mach-E. And
Uh-huh.
interestingly, the Mustang Mach-E, our lease is coming up. We did Ford options, which is basically a lease. So we're trying to figure out what to do. And the Equinox EV, the lease is up in November. So that's what we're currently in. I absolutely love the Mach-E and the way that it looks and drives. It's a fantastic EV and really well suited to our lifestyle, my husband and I. And the Equinox EV is fabulous and has more range. It's an incredible amount of range, 319 miles of range. And it was the cheapest lease that I could get. That was my goal. So it's going to be interesting to see what we switch to. I just tested out the 2027 Chevy Bolt, which is has a limited run, unfortunately, but it's super enticing. I really liked it. It was really cute. And it's, yeah, that's a great vehicle. So, that's what I'm in now, but soon I'll be doing that thing, going to dealerships and testing out and, trying to advocate for myself and ask for what I need and all that. So we'll see how that goes. But they're
Yeah,
they're
well,
really cool cars on the market and
there
cool
are so
EVs, and
many cool
I'm
cars, and it's a really good
yeah.
time to buy or lease an EV.
It is. It is. And
Yeah,
the used market is great too. So
yeah.
um keeping an eye on that too. And there's really cool stuff coming. The Ford UEV truck is going to be coming next year. And to be completely honest, that is like very highly on my radar. So maybe that'll be, one of our
That's a
vehicles.
shocker.
Really?
I'm
Oh,
kidding.
okay. I have a problem with sarcasm filter. I'm like very literal. Huh?
No,
I
I'm not surprised at all because you're such a Ford girly. Actually,
well,
it kind of surprised me that you leased the Equinox. And what that tells me is like you're very open-minded to every possibility, which I love.
well, and then I have to clarify, by the way, I have no Ford allegiance. My Mach-E was the first Ford vehicle that I owned, and I had no attachment to Ford. I actually probably had more of an attachment to Toyota and my RAV4 because growing up in South Africa, RAV4 was like the cutest little truck, or SUV basically.
Hmm.
All cars are small there. So I just
Yeah.
remember the old RAV4 growing up. So when I got my 98 RAV4, I was like, this is the car of my dreams. Make it electric. They have an electric RAV4 that's, in the past. But so I had no allegiance to Ford. But when I saw the Mustang Mach-E, I was like, that moment where you're like, ooh, look at
Hmm.
that, like, okay.
You know
So
what? I
no,
still
like,
feel that every time I see the Mach-E, that's how I feel. Like my heart just beats a little
right?
faster. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, it's that. And that, I'm that ridiculously enthusiastic friend. When I like a perfume, everyone's going to hear about it. Makeup, I make a YouTube channel. So, I like a car. I like the Mustang Mach-E, and my husband is exactly the same. So, of course, we make the national club, because it's like, that's the ridiculous friend. So he comes at it with a Ford history. He likes to say he was taken home from the hospital in a Ford Mustang, like literally when he was a baby. And I had like absolutely zero attachment. So it's like just
Mm.
this is awesome. Look at this car. And the Equinox EV, that's a great one too. Um, should I make the clap? No, no, no. See, I know. You gotta have your limits.
Well, I
But
can't
yeah.
wait to see what you have in your driveway next. What are you driving,
Ooh.
Natalie?
Ooh, so right now I have the Honda Passport Trail Sport. So
Ooh,
it's nice and big, so I can throw everything in there. Everyone would be happy getting in.
that's amazing. Oh, I can't wait to
That's
see your review of
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Missing
I
the
All
can't
front.
wait
right,
to see
well,
your outfits because you always have great
Oh
outfits
my
for
gosh.
your
Oh, thank
cars.
you. But you too. I love your color coordination always. So I just want to, give the flowers, okay?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm like super lazy. I do it with makeup, my color coordination, but you are like, as you can see from your closet behind you, like all on. She does outfit, makeup, everything. Yes, look at that.
I was ready for you. I was like, oh, I have to put, like the more of a teal color on for you.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh,
Uh,
oh,
Did you
I
land on a
feel
name
you.
for your car, by the way? Because I know that was like a thing. We were talking about color. I was the one commenting. I was the social admin that week. I was like, ooh.
Oh my God. Oh, wait, for the Bolt? Was that
Yeah.
it?
It was a
No,
gorgeous
we did
blue.
not get a name. I remember that. So the 2027 Chevy Bolt that I had 2 weeks ago, I think, I obviously wanted to name it because both of our other EVs we have a name
Right.
for. Our Mustang Mach-E is called Blucifer Tucifer. Because if you don't know Blucifer, it's the giant Mustang outside the Denver airport with like a notorious past. And it's our second Mach-E, so Blucifer Tucifer. And then our Equinox is called Aquinox. And that was literally a patron supporter who was like witty. I'm not witty, clearly. I'm like, there's nothing here. So I need help with the Bolt name. But like every vehicle we have, I think needs a name. Like I was testing out a big Hummer recently and we called it Mando, the Mandalorian. Because like it like felt perfect. They're like a big gray Hummer EV.
Nice.
So a cute little Marina Blue Metallic Chevy Bull. What should we call it?
Hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like my favorite eyeshadow was that same color. It was like electric eel, but I always think of like management, like electric feel. But
Oh,
it just, I don't know. It just makes me feel like it's very like oceanic, you know?
yeah.
It's got a sea
Yeah, like
vibe.
should it be called
Poseidon.
Poseidon? It's
Because
so
it's so
little
little
though.
but like powerful.
Neptune? Neptune?
Neptune. Oh, okay. I like that
Nep
one.
yeah. I love
Yeah, the
this like
workshopping. Yeah.
communal effort. Neptune. That's awesome. Okay, done.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. The
I
color
like that.
coding, I know.
Do you guys have names for your cars?
Yeah, so mine's called the Panda. I have a 2023 Chevy Trailblazer.
Oh,
Just because it's black and white and it's a lot of fun. It makes me happy and it's little and we call our son sometimes a little panda. So we're all right, get everyone getting in the Panda.
oh my gosh, that's adorable. I love that. That's awesome. What
Thank you.
about you, Scotty?
So we have an Ionic 5, and I have not named it, and I should.
Ooh,
I should.
I forgot to
I
name
did
it.
name my last cars.
Mhm.
My BMW was called Gracie because she was navy blue with a white interior, like a cream interior. And it
Cute.
just
Ooh.
felt so graceful. So that was Gracie. And we had a Toyota Highlander that my kids named Yoko. I don't know
Oh,
why, but it was a very fitting name. But they were little when they named it. They did not know, like,
Yoko
I don't
Ono.
think they knew the name Yoko for any reason. Um, but that was fitting. But I need a name for my Hyundai, and I haven't named her. But I will say everybody in my family loves her, and they all she gets a lot of seat time from everybody. So, which was part of the goal was to get everybody driving this EV, and they all do love her. Maybe I should call her Evie. Evie.
I see.
Evie,
But
yeah.
The
but
evolution.
she's become a fond member of the family. Everybody loves her. So
I
so
love that. I love that so much. And I think that's like
Mhm.
part of why cars are such a big deal. That like it feels good when you enjoy what's moving you around, right? Like
yeah,
it feels good wearing a good pair of shoes and like they fit your feet well, like the things
so
that
true,
are
right?
like giving you momentum. Yeah. So like there's just something about that. And like you're expressing yourself to the world in your panda, like it's like it's an expression. It's like your outfit. It's awesome. It's
Gotta
really
make it
cool.
personalized and like, what just listening to you and your story, because I was like gathering and I'm like, oh, I want to hear it from Liv and then hearing like how you like ask that people need to ask for permission, but then for your individual self, it's like, no, like I don't need your permission. And I love that. I love that distinction. It's very important in cars, very important in our personality, especially when we're driving, right? And picking these cars for us. And, it really changes the way that we look at things. It changes the way we talk to each other and bringing up these subjects of like it's okay. We all have different needs and we should be excited and coming together in our own cars with their own names and having their own energy.
That is awesome. I love that. And I think, yeah, this is why these conversations are so important because, like, I wouldn't necessarily have drawn that distinction of like asking permission and not asking permission. Like, that's actually a really good distinction. Yeah, wow. I love that.
It was very
And I
powerful.
love that we are having this conversation.
Definitely. I didn't
Well,
want to interrupt earlier because I was like, oh my gosh, tell me
No.
more. Like, I'm really vibing here. I didn't want to be in the shadows, but I'm like, no, 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 this is good. Like, please tell me more.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate that. I think like because we all do this stuff, we probably all have a lot to share. So
Right.
I would like to like turn the tables now and hear you and like your
Oh,
insight
yes.
because like I'm not special, like we all have challenges and we all have things that we have to overcome and we can
Right.
choose to do that or not, but like life's better when you try, you know?
Oh,
And
100%.
I know that you have like incredible insight and things that you overcome in a variety of ways. And I would also like to hear how you put an outfit together and like
Oh my gosh.
fashion
Haphazardly,
tips.
haphazardly. Well, for
As-
me, I've always had like an identity crisis, right? Like people are always like, "What are you talking about?" Well, when you look at me, people like you, like when you say people look at me, they look at me in a certain way. I really vibe with that because I'm like, yeah, like you look at me and you're like, okay, well, she has to be Irish because she has red hair. No one ever realizes that I'm also Hispanic and Asian. So they're like, what? So I've always had like this awkward, but if I go to any of the countries that like my families are from, I'm not accepted. Even here, it's like, oh, you're this, but you're not that, but you don't fit in my group. So I'm always in the weirdo category of like, whatever, I do what I want. So for me, it's like, I want all the other people that feel othered or weirdos, right? I'm bright and colorful. I am like a butterfly. I want you to find me. I want you to come over and talk to me. You know, that's why I have so many conversation pieces, because I'm like, life is more fun when you invite other people in and you get to learn more about them, hear other people's perspectives, because oftentimes, like, we don't get this connection. All we see is like what's thrown at us, you know, and we forget the human aspect. And I really love that design aspect you were telling, because for me, getting in a car, I'm like, well, who is this for? It doesn't feel like it's for me, you know, and you start like playing with things and you're like, okay, now this is who it could be for. But that's why, like, for me, I have everything pink. Everything is pink around me. Like, it has to be, because I want people to like identify with like that happy, joyful, playful nature with me, you know, and I like inviting those other people in and having fun with it too. I mean, I have an orange car in my driveway. Like, that's awesome, and it totally makes me happy. When they drop off a silver car, do you ever feel like, man, I don't want that? Like, real talk, I'm like, you could have just painted it any color, you know, even a bright interior, please, please. But
Yep.
yep,
No
That
black, no
got it.
silver, no black
I've had
interiors,
like
please.
I've had like baby poop color before. No,
Oh
like
no,
why? Yeah.
pea green? Oh no.
Yeah. I
Yep.
I mean, I feel like half of what you said we should put on a t-shirt. That was so awesome. Like, life is more fun when you invite other people in. Like, wow. Wow,
You know, I
wow,
used to
wow.
work for a t-shirt
That's
company. Johnny Cupcakes. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, what?
So I used to work for a t-shirt company called Johnny Cupcakes. So he was like,
No.
if you look him up, he's the coolest guy in Boston off of Newbury Street. He used to have like a metal grindcore band, you know, would sell his t-shirts out of a car. That's why I'm like, oh my gosh, car connection. You know, I've always been with cars and fashion, and like here I am now. And he would just sell his shirts, and it would have a cupcake with crossbones, and he would sell it. It became so much more famous. I think it was out of his Toyota Corolla, if I'm not mistaken. But he would just sell all the t-shirts to all the bands and stuff, and then eventually all the bands were wearing it. He stopped, you know, in his band and was focusing on his t-shirt brand. And I actually got to design a t-shirt with him. I was one of the first women to have my own t-shirt design. Yeah.
Whoa. That is so cool. And I feel like I've seen a cupcake with crossbones. That sounds
Yeah.
adorable.
I'll
Captain
send you everything.
Cupcake is my pirate name, I have to say. So
Oh,
I'm kind of
see?
attaching
Okay.
to that. Um, wow. I literally want to just listen to you talk, because that's a fascinating beginning in automotive, from like fashion and cars combining, like the start
All
of
the good
selling
stuff.
t-shirts out of a car. Like, that
You
is
know?
amazing.
We need more things to do, right? It's like start a business, go run a mile, do this, do
Yeah.
that. You're like, oh my gosh, wait. We'll get to it on the list.
But just don't sleep.
Yeah,
Just
a
don't plan on
million
sleeping.
things.
Yeah, no, don't sleep anymore.
No, 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 no.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm
So,
gonna call it here
I,
because we've been on for a while. And we'll just have to come back and do this again another day.
yes.
Agreed?
that would be awesome.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah, I want
right.
to hear
Well,
more
Liv,
about
thank
cupcakes.
you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights. And thank you for being who you are and dispelling a little myth in my head, because I think you're just like this walking bundle of sunshine and just happy and smiling all the time, because you always are when I see you. And I love that about you. And I appreciate so much everything that you do and everything that you bring to your content and to audiences and to others who maybe need a little nudge to get out there and be and be who they are. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you so much, and this opportunity, and just the platform that you've created for so many women and incredible
Oh,
voices.
thank you.
So, applause
Thank
to you
you.
for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. See you guys IRL soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I feel like I could talk with Liv all day long. I just love her energy. I love her positivity. I love that she brings such an approachable, accessible, and happy view to what many people would consider a burden. And for her, it is nope, she's just figuring out how to live the best life that she can. What did you take away from the conversation with Liv?
From Liv, I just took it from that design aspect. She has such an incredible mind where she likes to problem solve and come up with, you know what? We are all the same. We're all humans. We come at this, we all have needs. How do we all interact with this? And how do we make it a livable experience for everyone? And it's so important not to just name it as bravery, but to rename it as something as, I'm going to take more out of life in the best way possible and make this work for me, and just share that love and excitement. And people, they want to see that too, so that they can see themselves in these products and in these cars. So it really made me like tear up a bit, because I'm like, she just connects so well to human people in general, and especially women in auto. It's like, I feel you. It meant
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say the day that I met her, she approached me at an auto show and introduced herself. And I was a little taken aback. I was like, wow, I don't really, that's so flattering, When I remember meeting her and thinking, I need to know more about her. And
Yeah.
it was really the good luck was mine that she came up and said hello. So I feel very grateful. So thank you so much for joining us for the podcast conversation with Liv Leigh. Everyone can find Liv on her own channel, The Electric Duo, as well as her Mustang organization, Mustang Mach-E club, Ford EV Club, that she and Patrick started. And thank you all for joining us for What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. I'm Scotty Reese, your host, Natalie Marola, your co-host and also producer. Our editor is Steph Howard. Our music is by Envato Elements. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and join us again next time for What Drives Her. Thanks, everybody.